Hey, high achiever. I know you care deeply about goals, performance, and accomplishments, but you might feel stuck sometimes. And that's where I come in. My name is Charlene Jefferson, and I am a certified high performance coach, here to guide you as you create intentional habits and routines that will get you to the next level. Whether you want to grow in your career, business, relationships, health, or hobbies, I'll help you propel your goals forward through the habit of living. Hello, and welcome to the Habit of Living. I am super excited for all of us to be here today because today I have our guest, a special guest, Miss Deann Butler. And I'm super excited to tell you about her because she has helped me tremendously level up my LinkedIn. And she's going to do the same for you because a lot of the habits that we want and a lot of the abundance that we're trying to achieve, it's going to have to start with our LinkedIn profiles. And Dr. Deann's going to tell us all about it today. So why don't we go ahead and get into this episode today? So, Dr. Deann, welcome to the Habit of Living podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what you do.
Well, first, thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here and talk about, like you said, LinkedIn and finding your voice and sort of what my path has been like and the habits I've used to really create this life that I never thought that I was going to be able to have. So my name is, Dr. Deann Butler. I'm a mom of three. I just had a baby 5 weeks ago. So that's where I am. You're watching this video, like I'm dressed down and stuff. Cause I am on 12 weeks of maternity leave right now. So I'm a mom of three. I have a partner named Fred. We've been together for 8 years now. I am a healthcare professional. So I've been in healthcare over 20 years, which freaks me out when I say it out loud because I don't think I'm old, but I've been working in my career for 20 years. So like I am kind of old. And then I'm a businesswoman. So a few years ago, I decided to launch Connected Consultants. And I did that primarily through, LinkedIn and word of mouth. And so that's sort of that is part or one of my zones of genius is using LinkedIn and finding your voice and showing up there authentically as yourself so that you can go out here and create this legacy and create this life you deserve. So that's a little bit about me, the three major parts of myself.
I love that. Dr. Deann, mom, entrepreneur, wife. I love it. All the things.
All of them, all of them.
All the things. That is amazing. Well, tell me, what would you credit some of your greatest achievements? Because you're right, your mom, your partner, your entrepreneur woman, and you're also trying to show up and share your voice authentically. Tell me, how did you find success in doing all of that?
I would say that I have just recently found success, which sounds funny. If you would ask me this question 4 years ago, it would have been completely different than the answer I'm giving now. So 4 years ago, if you would ask me what my major accomplishment has been, I would have said my career. Like I climbed the corporate ladder. I started from, humble beginnings, middle class, rural area, went to college and, surpassed what my parents thought, got to that six-figure job, spent a lot of time building that career in education. As you can see, made it all the way up to the doctorate. So I spent a lot of time, like I'm the epitome of a career woman, that person trying to climb that corporate ladder that doesn't think about anything else. Then things had to change, spent a lot of time in therapy,
Mhm.
and figured out like I was burning myself out. And I didn't want to be that, didn't want to be that example for my kids. Of course, I wanted them to see how to strive and also go for what you want, but you got to be able to, there are other parts of yourself. And I wasn't giving the other parts of myself just as much as I was giving that career side. And so now my answer is being able to give myself to them and creating this new life, which is I still get my career, but
Mhm.
I am choosing now to focus more on my kids, my family, my business, and those type. And so I think being able to create this new version of what I am calling success and what I'm calling freedom, is my biggest accomplishment thus far.
That is amazing. And I got to be honest, I mean, I share in that journey. When I started all out in corporate and just kind of seeing the things as I grew up, it was, go out and go work for someone and go and be your best, show up and, get promoted and, go get your education and advance it and get the
Yeah.
certifications and just keep working
Yeah.
yourself up the corporate ladder. And I think
Mhm.
you get into it and it starts to, you start to see the benefits of it, right? It actually does work until it doesn't. I always say it's
Yeah.
working until it doesn't. And you start to, you know, feel that burnout and you start to see the burnout show up in your life in different ways. Like for me, it was, weight gain. It
Mhm.
was, maybe not lashing out like in a beating type of violent way, but like lashing out to people you love. And you're like, why did I say it like that? You know?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so I love that you said you went to therapy because,
Yeah.
if we're just being honest, in the Black community, therapy is kind of like a taboo word.
Taboo. Mhm.
Tell me why or how did you make that decision that, you know what, I deserve more and, maybe a little therapy would help. Like, tell me, like, how did you get to that point?
Yeah, so it was really two reasons. One, I had to have a hard conversation with my partner,
Mhm.
um, because I was working 50, 60 hours. I was traveling. My family was getting what was left over after work
Mhm.
instead of like really truly my family should be getting everything and my work should be getting, those leftovers. Like that's the way I live now. Um, and so we had to have a conversation because he's been an entrepreneur for a long time. And so he operates from a different perspective. And
Mhm.
so we had to find balance. And so I knew there were things that I was going to have to work on. So that was one reason. And then number two, I began to see my anxiety and perfectionism and the way that I work show up in my son, who's the oldest. He's 14, and that was not okay for me. And so I wanted to go to therapy to show them that going to therapy is okay, and
Mhm.
then to work through my issues because I knew I wanted to make a change. Now, it took me a long time. Like, so I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say like it was like go to therapy. I went like I fought it for a while. Um, but now I'm like, get yourself a therapist. Like everywhere, trying to like bring down the stigma, letting people know, yes, you see me doing all the things, but in the background, I really struggle with anxiety. And the way that I am able to show up and do these things, have the business, have the family, have the career, is because I have a really good therapist.
That's amazing. And what I loved about that as you were sharing your story is that one of the reasons why you decided to go and get a therapist, one of the reasons why you decided to want more and to show you could have more in a better way, right? Was because of your kids, right? They were watching you and they were picking up on these habits. And that is
Mhm.
exactly, what I do with my coaching clients in my one-on-one sessions. We talk about this all the time. What
Mhm.
are we leaving for our kids? What are we
Yeah.
showing our kids and what are they catching? Because I'm pretty sure, Dr. Deann, you weren't at the table with your son saying, okay, this is the way I'm doing things and, this is the way you should do it.
Mhm.
It was probably more like he was seeing it. He was like, okay, and adopting in his mind, maybe this is the way I'm supposed to do it. But you said you wanted something more. You wanted to show him something better and different for you and your family. And I think that's amazing. And I think a lot of us, parents, aunts, uncles, all
Yeah.
all of us out there who have um care of kids, younger generation, should also consider that as well. And so I love that you did that and that you took
Mhm.
back that control, with your family to say, you know what, I want something better for us. That's amazing
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I mean, part of what it's also what you said, what are we leaving behind? And so I spend a lot of time thinking now about what am I leaving for my kids,
Mhm.
as far as, the traits they pick up for me and the characteristics they pick up for me, but also the legacy that I leave behind as far as my business now and making sure they're financially stable and that they find their voice. And so I talk a lot about finding your voice. And so once I found my voice, I want to make sure they have their voice. And then I also want to leave that piece of me behind because, I'll be gone one day. But if I'm out there talking about the things that are important, like that's part of my legacy too. And so I just want to call out, like that was part of the reason too. I think a lot about now what I am leaving behind, and that legacy that I'm creating.
That is lovely. And while we're talking about legacy, I just want to point out really quickly. I think I did a post, I don't know, sometime maybe last week, but a lot of times when we think about legacies, we think about being able to leave it for our kids. And of course, that's what we want to do. But a lot of times we see the legacy as something that, we don't live daily. But wouldn't it be great if we
Mhm.
could actually show them how to live the legacy we're trying to create for them, or as we're creating it for them? I just think it's a different perspective on the legacy. It's not something I'm trying to kill myself to have just so I never show you how to keep it, you know? And
Mhm.
so these
Yeah.
habits, what we leave for our kids, not just, financially, it should also be, personally, like that development piece, that we knowing when you need to ask for help, knowing when, to tap into an expert, or knowing when you need to
Yes.
shift or pivot, and being okay with it, right? Being okay with your feelings. And so I think that's a major thing, that we should think about when we think about creating these legacies we wanting to leave, for our kids, for sure. But I love those perspectives. You mentioned
Mhm.
that a part of this was, being able to really show your voice, right? And share your
Mhm.
voice with people. You talked about you were in corporate America. Did you feel at
Yeah.
any point where you got to, like a ceiling, right? You were
Mhm.
sharing your voice, but maybe it wasn't heard, or you had done essentially everything that they had, said to do to get to where
Yes.
you were trying
Yes.
to go. And then all of
Yes.
a sudden it was just like you just kept bumping into something, like, and
Mhm.
maybe your voice wasn't heard. Tell me, how it happened for you.
Yes, I think it was a couple of parts of that because it did take me a while to find my voice, find what I was passionate about. So, again, people used to ask me all the time, like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I'm still like in my 30s, still trying to figure out what I want to do. It
Mhm.
wasn't until really 40, which I just hit last year, that I really figured out what I wanted to do. And so part of it was that looking introspective, looking
Mhm.
at myself introspectively, that's the right word. Um, and figuring out what my passion was. And so I did some of that. And then found my voice in corporate America, especially as I began to get higher up in corporate America and get that seat at the table and realize the um, responsibility, especially as a Black woman, that comes with having a seat at the table and using my voice. But
Mhm.
then the other part of that, so you can have a seat at the table using your voice, but then people ain't listening. And so I hit that ceiling where
Mhm.
I felt like, yes, I had this seat at the table, but they were not listening to me, or they were not listening to me until they needed me.
Mm.
And that was not okay. And so what I tell people is that you deserve to be valued. You
Mhm.
deserve to be paid. You deserve not to be overworked. And if you're ever in a situation where you're not getting that, you deserve to walk out the door and leave and go find it somewhere else or create it for yourself, because we've worked hard to get this knowledge and this experience and this expertise. And so go out here and use it. And so the way that I found my voice,
Yeah.
and I began slowly using that on LinkedIn
Mhm.
back in 2012. So I've had my profile since then, and I would put my thoughts out there. And I don't overthink LinkedIn. A lot of people do, but it's on LinkedIn is really just me talking into my notes section. So you're really getting my voice on LinkedIn. I really just talked into my notes and edited that and put it on LinkedIn. So it's my voice. And so I started doing that little by little. And
Mhm.
then it came a point where I was like, okay, I know my voice. It deserves to be heard. I have something to say. I'm going to begin showing more and more of that on LinkedIn. And then I created the business. And then the blessings just started to come in until it got to a point where I'm like, and then it became a point where it was really like, yo, people are listening to me. Wait, maybe, maybe, this voice is a powerful thing. Then when I saw that, that's when I began my coaching program, because I was like, I want other women,
Yeah.
especially women of color, to
Mhm.
have this same feeling. to get this same abundance and blessings that I'm having, that I'm finding. And it all comes with recognizing the power of your voice and
Mhm.
then putting strategy behind it and putting it out there.
That's amazing. I mean, you heard it, guys. Dr. Dion, she said, you deserve to be heard. You deserve to be seen. And if you don't feel like you're getting those things, you deserve to walk out. Now, we're not telling you to quit your jobs. Let's be clear. That's not what we are telling you. But what we
Yeah.
are saying is set yourself up, right? So that if that is something an option for you, then you can walk out, right? And you
Mhm.
can have that other thing, such as connected consultants, like Dr. Dion has done for herself. She felt she wasn't seen and heard. And, she said it took some time to get to that point, but when soon as she used her voice and she saw the feedback she was getting, the
Mhm.
blessings just flowed.
Let me clarify one point, and what you
Yeah,
did too about not, I'm saying that you deserve to walk away, but yes, you do have to have a plan.
that's right.
And I am also not the coach, the mentor, sponsor that will tell you that corporate America is bad or that you should
Hmm.
never work in corporate America. I truly believe using every opportunity. So I walked away from corporate America, started Connected Consultants, did that full time. I now work in corporate again, but I work there because I know my voice and I know my value now.
Hmm.
I work there on my own terms, and I am not going into a corporate role without them recognizing my boundaries and what I need from that role. And it has to be a good opportunity. And then again, I am still showing my voice on LinkedIn, always looking for other opportunities because I am loyal to, my family and this legacy that I'm trying to create. So I just again wanted to call that out because there are people out here that will say, just leave corporate America, start your own business. That is where you should be. That works for some people.
Yeah.
And for some people, they love corporate America. What I'm about is finding your voice, putting
Hmm.
it out there, finding ways to make it work for you so that you can create whatever your version of freedom and success and legacy looks like.
Absolutely, guys. We're not telling you corporate isn't, is bad. That's not what we're telling you either. I mean, both
Mm.
Dr. Dion and I are and have been in corporate, and we've decided that, you know what? There's a better way to serve ourselves and also to serve our gifts and help other women. So absolutely, if that's something you're interested in, you can certainly reach out to me. I'm certainly here
Mm.
to help if you're looking to get your business. Also, if you're in the healthcare industry, Dr. Dion is, I think you have your program going on right now. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I have two different programs. So I have a coaching program for healthcare professionals. Now I only work for healthcare professionals because I hear you say zone of genius all the time.
Mhm.
My zone of genius is within healthcare. And so I work with strictly healthcare professionals who want to start their own consulting business. I take them through all the things that I had to learn, and hopefully they can bypass some of the lessons that I had to go through in starting mine. And so that is a multi-week program where I work one-on-one with you to get that business started. So that is one program. It is very high touch, very intensive. Now the second program that I have, or second set of like services, is around LinkedIn. And this is the one I kind of tell people to start with because before you start a business, you should really start. And even if you don't start the business,
Mhm.
everyone has a personal and professional brand. Again, everyone's voice deserves to be heard. You should be sharing that expertise. And so my services are around LinkedIn. So I help healthcare professionals launch their profiles and figure out how do they use LinkedIn the best way for them. So we have on-demand courses. We have what I call power hours, where I sit down and I tell you how to optimize your profile, build your network, write content, and then all the way up to the very high touch where you get 6 sessions with me where we're really over time catapulting your LinkedIn profile. Again, LinkedIn is the best resource I believe we have out there to build our professional brands. It's more effective than IG, it's more effective than Facebook, and it's really built for those of us who have operated within, corporate America, within these very, professional careers. It's a place where we can go to and share that expertise. It's a place for creating conversations.
Mhm.
And so that's what I show people how to do through those LinkedIn services. If you don't got LinkedIn and you're listening to this podcast, you better get on there now. It is where you should be. And it's a whole lot easier than the other platforms. So check me out if you want to get your LinkedIn together.
Absolutely. Check Dr. Deann out, and the link to both of those programs and how you can get to know more about Dr. Deann will be in the show notes after the episode is posted. So don't fret if trying to go out there LinkedIn or IG
Yeah.
and try to find her. I'm going to have it right in the show notes. You'll be able to
Yeah.
access it very easily. That is awesome and that is amazing. I love those two programs because when I think about my LinkedIn profile and just working with you, you directly, I had never looked at my LinkedIn account period as something that I could potentially monetize. And
Mhm.
I'm thinking I'm in the coaching industry, but should I be on LinkedIn? Should I look at it that way? And you're exactly right. It's exactly where I need to be. I'm getting, clients this way because not only are individuals looking for coaching, corporations are looking for coaching.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so you're right. This is exactly where I need to be. So if you have a service-based, business, then definitely look out getting your profile leveled up and working with Dr. Deann because it is the place to be. I mean, she taught me all about the banner, the little video. I mean, just all of the things I didn't even know
Yeah.
LinkedIn, had going on. And I was like, every time she shows something or shares something on IG, I'm like, oh, I just did that. Oh wow, thank
Mhm.
you for sharing
Mhm.
that because I didn't
Does,
know.
y'all.
I had no idea, and I always hit her up. Dr. Dehan, you just showed me something new. And I
Mhm.
love that, right? Don't we all like to learn something new? We do. And
Mhm.
so if you're looking to level up your LinkedIn profile, or if you're a healthcare professional and you're looking to, monetize or create your own consulting business, the link will be in the show notes after this episode. So guys, thank you so much. Dr. Dayan, thank you so much for sharing about those two programs because I think it is certainly needed in this time. And when I just kind of think about, over these past few years with the pandemic, I feel like there's like been this, in my mind, this great like realignment, right? People
Mhm.
have come to terms with, okay, I don't connect with or I don't want to be available for the overworked person anymore. Like I don't
Yeah.
want to be the person who misses my child's, dance recitals or baseball game. Like that is not who, we want to be anymore. And I think that
Mhm.
pandemic has made us
Yes.
realign our priorities.
Mhm.
And so a lot of people right now are coming out, with businesses or they're, just kind of changing the way they have their life set up.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this from a clientele standpoint. Are you finding that, a lot of women, a lot of Black women are coming to you saying, hey, Dr. Dion, I love what you do. And
Mhm.
I love for you to, love to work with you.
Yes, I mean, and I think you're right. During this pandemic, a lot of us had some come to Jesus moments. Why? Because we had to, we were sitting at home with ourselves and with our families and
Yes.
probably finding out I don't know as much about my kids as I thought I knew. And
Uh-huh.
man, me and my partner ain't spent this much time together since it was just us. And
Uh-huh.
oh man, I really am working 60 hours a week and probably working from home. I'm working more. And
More.
so we
Mhm.
all had these. Okay.
Yeah.
And now I'm talking more to myself because I'm sitting here, at home. And so we had these come to Jesus moments. And it's like, I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like this. And also with the, really IG and coaching and social media took off, people began to see other people not taking it. And so
Mhm.
if they don't have to take it, okay, I don't have to take it either. And so yes, we began to question the treatment that we were getting in corporate America or in our roles and the treatment, how we were treating our families and how we could do something differently. And so I began to see more women, definitely women of colors, very
Mhm.
specifically Black women, who would find commonalities with my messaging. And so really, when you find your voice and when you show up and you're on LinkedIn or you're on IG, your audience, you
Yeah.
will attract the right people to you and the
Mhm.
people who resonate with what you're talking about. And so I was resonating with healthcare professionals, moms, people who have been in corporate America, people who had, advanced degrees,
Mhm.
who were tired of just really giving their all
Mhm.
and not seeing the return on it. And
Yeah.
so they wanted to create something different, or they really wanted to get their voice out. They felt they had this message. They thought things different. They wanted to be a thought leader.
Yeah.
And so they began reaching out and seeing how they could get these services. And then
Mhm.
also, again, as I saw success coming from this and how easy it is just to get on, like, I'm not a salesperson, like, at all, but
Yeah.
I saw how easy it was just to get on LinkedIn and share and talk and be myself, and
Mhm.
the companies and the individuals would come to me.
Yeah.
And so, again, I think that we all deserve that with whatever your passion is,
Mhm.
whatever your area of whatever your zone of genius is, that deserves to be heard. Like, we're not living anymore. I don't want us as women, Black women, living anymore not feeling heard. We should not have to walk through life that way.
Mhm.
So no more. So
Mhm.
I'm here to show you how to at least do that on LinkedIn.
Absolutely love that. Black women, Black women. We are trying to
Yes.
give you some nuggets here because we do want to create spaces where we are all seen, where we are all heard, and also to create some place where we can share in
Mhm.
those stories because we know that all of our stories may be different, but there will be some
Yes.
commonalities, as Dr.
Mhm.
Deann just mentioned. Your audience on LinkedIn will be attracted to you, and you'll start to see those people come in. But the most important thing is that you get out there and share your voice. And I know
Mhm.
that takes courage. And in my coaching sessions, I talk about courage a lot because a lot of times we don't have the courage that we need to show up in our most authentic selves. And even just a little bit deeper, we haven't quite connected to how we truly feel from an emotional standpoint. Like we haven't filtered those emotional emotions into correct feelings to be able to
Mhm.
express ourselves vocally.
Mhm.
So that's
Mhm.
another thing. Like, how do we even do that, first of all? And then, show up courageously and share our voices with others, even if you choose to stay in corporate America, in any platform, in any arena of life, finances. How do you show
Mhm.
up and show up courageously? And so that definitely is something we talk about in my one-on-one sessions, which you also have the ability to click the link in the show notes to find out more about as well. Dr.
Mhm.
Dion, we talk about Black women, and one of the things I like to do on the podcast always, with all my guests, is to ask, was there a specific habit or a specific thing you had to do that gave you the success you have right now?
I am very risk averse. And so
Mhm.
that is, it took me a long time to try the entrepreneur thing. It takes me a long time to try anything. And we talk about being courageous. I had a coach that said, most of the problems that we have in life or in business that we run into is because of fear.
Mhm.
And so one thing that I've had to do, or a habit I had to do, is reframing. So again,
Mm.
it's something that I learned, had to learned about in therapy. So I am someone who, risk averse. I think I overthink everything, and
Mm.
I tend to, really overthink, like, the negative stuff that could happen. And so I had to create this habit where, as soon as those negative thoughts, as soon as that fear was creeping in, to
Mhm.
start be courageous enough to reframe that. So, what if I get negative comments on the post that I get? No, let me reframe that. What if people love this? What if it resonated with someone? What if
Mhm.
it was something that someone needed to hear that day? And
Mhm.
so reframing has been key in, like, helping me to push past my fears,
Mhm.
and still show up, because I am, again, risk averse. I'm a natural introvert,
Mhm.
um, but I do want to be heard. I know I have something that's important to say. And
Yeah.
so I had to kind of figure out how I was going to push past those, and the reframing when those negative thoughts come up, has really helped.
I mean, reframing is super important. Being able to connect with yourself and truly know what triggers you have that either cause you to, be fearful or to be angry or, anything, just knowing those triggers is super important. And so it really takes and it requires you to sit with yourself. Like
Yes.
Dr. Dion said, it was a therapist for her. And maybe that's what, needs to happen with you. But I also know that in my coaching sessions, we always talk about who it is you are. Like
Mhm.
what is your identity and what is your ideal identity? Like who do you want to become in the future? Because one of the things I also think has been a problem or that has caused us to be fearful is our comfort level with where we are right now,
Mhm.
and sometimes that futuristic thinking is what really gets us excited, right? To know that I'm doing well right now, that's great. But that next level of me, oh my God, like it could probably be so much more, abundant, right? And so
Yeah.
I always look to that, and we always talk about that in our coaching sessions. Who we are right now is great and is serving at a certain level, but oftentimes when we want to get to that next level, it requires expert help. It requires
Yeah.
someone to help sit you down and say, okay, who do you need to be to get to
Mhm.
that next level? Like what
Mhm.
habits, what skill sets do you need to develop? What influence do you need to have? There may be people who can help you along the journey in certain different ways, but you need to figure out those people. And
Yeah.
then how do you build those relationships to make
Mhm.
it come to fruition? And so a lot of times we don't sit with ourselves enough to say, this is what I want, this is who I need to be, and these are the steps, I need to do or action in order to get there. And so you're right. I think is having that habit, right, of pushing past your fear, being courageous, understanding your triggers is super important because those things, life is not going to stop. Essentially, is what I'm
No.
saying. Life is going to life, the fear is going to come, the heartache is going to come, the challenges are going to come, but how you manage it is
Mhm.
totally up to you. So if you're aware of your triggers, you can better manage when you are triggered. Now, like, okay, I know that happened, and now I can
Mhm.
change and choose to make a different approach, take a different approach to it. And so I think that's major. And it sounds like Dr. Deann has had great success on, understanding those triggers and reframing those so that it's a positive. It sets her into a positive, situation and frame of mind. So I just think that's amazing. I think a lot of times we get so into our emotions, we forget that we can control how far we go into that and how far it takes us away from the ultimate goal and purpose of our journey.
Just want to chime in because there were two other things that you said that I think are key.
Hmm.
One, you talked about, seeing yourself in the future. And so dreaming big. And so my
Hmm.
partner and I were just having this conversation the other day that sometimes us as women, as Black women, as Black people, we don't dream big enough. And
Hmm.
so, I'm right here and I'm good right here. That doesn't mean you don't deserve. Like serve a God, serve a higher power that says anything is possible. And so
Yeah.
I'm not dreaming big enough. And so I've had to push myself on that. Are my dreams even big enough? Yes, I've created this business and we've
Hmm.
brought in multi six figures, but what's keeping me from bringing in seven figures? What's keeping me from being the person that gets to travel the world with her family, all throughout the year and not just do, a couple of trips a year. So I think we have to not just see ourselves where we are and what that next step is but also do that visioning and dream a little bit bigger. I try to, like, when I see what my dreams are, ask
Yeah.
myself, okay, what would be a little bit bigger than this?
Mm.
And see what that looks like. And then the second thing you talked about, investing, I talk about investing in yourself. And
Hmm.
so realizing and sitting with yourself and realizing what are my strengths, what is my zone of genius, and then, one of the things I've learned is my goal is to operate at my highest level of my zone of genius. The things that are not in my zone of genius, I need to go out and not be afraid of investing in those things. And a lot of times we are afraid of doing that, but go out there. Like we invested all this money in going and getting a 4-year degree or advanced degrees and got all these student loans, but then we are afraid to invest the couple of $1,000s that it is to get a coach.
Yeah.
No, so we have to be able to, recognize what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and then go out and find the people whose zone of genius is what our weakness is, and
Hmm.
invest in ourselves so that they can take us to whatever that big dream was.
Key, guys, listen, investing. That's somewhere I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay right there, Dr. Deann, because I actually was on a call today. It was a money mindset call, and I attend these calls every day with my coach. And she was talking about how comfortable we are with going to, let's just say, Target or to Nordstrom or wherever your store is, right? Where you just kind of go, wow. And we don't mind going in and spending money. Let's just go. We don't even know why we're going. We're just going. We know we're gonna find something good. But when it comes to investing in yourself,
Mhm.
getting a coach, getting personal development, getting the training, the certification, the degree, we're like, oh, we're real paused, and like, oh my gosh, that's too much. But you become so, easy and comfortable with going out and spending all that money on some material things. But when it comes to actually giving you something that could, elevate your living, the living, that you have and the life you're creating for your kids, the legacy you want to live, you have, this hesitation about it. And so
Mhm.
why is investing so, scary? Why is it something that we don't do more of? Why aren't we comfortable with that?
I have a business bestie that I
Mhm.
work with. We actually have something coming out at the end of the year, but she's a transformational coach, and I took some of her classes. She's come to some of my coaching, and she talks about having this scarcity mindset that,
Mhm.
especially as Black people, Black women, that's been passed down generations. And so us thinking, or having to have lived paycheck to paycheck, or not knowing what could happen, or generationally, people could just come and just take all your stuff. Truth be told, they didn't need a reason or anything. Just one day they could come and take everything or burn down everything. And so
Mhm.
operating from that scarcity mindset, I think, has kept a lot of us from investing. And I guess the other thing that I just want to say is, like, I'm not perfect, so I'm here talking about this. The other thing is it's still hard for me, but being
Mhm.
able to call myself on it. And so, like, here on this call, like, I just went and dropped a bunch of money on me and my girls some clothes. But the first thing this morning, didn't want to drop the $300 for this discovery call about government contract. So I'm calling myself on, because when we get off of this, I'm going back and I'm going to pay for this discovery call, because
Right.
I just went and dropped all this money on these clothes, and the discovery call has a return on it. Right?
Right.
My newborn gonna be out of these clothes in exactly 2 weeks.
Right.
So I just say that to say, we're not. I'm not perfect. We're not
Mhm.
perfect. We
Mhm.
talk about these habits that we have. We
Yes.
also have to be willing to call ourselves on it, or to pull ourselves back in when we see ourselves not operating at this way that we're talking about. And so I just wanted to call that out. And then, to answer your question, that scarcity mindset, again, I think it's something that we all, unless you come from money, and
Mhm.
like wealth, not just
Mhm.
having
Right.
a little bit of money, but unless you come from wealth, you're probably operating a little bit of that scarcity mindset. And definitely if you are a person of color,
Yes.
because that's the way we have had to live for the past 400 years. And so, trying to break free of
Yes.
that, and have a different mindset, and show my kids something else, is also part of that legacy that we've been talking about.
Absolutely, guys. And if you want to hear more on money mindset and how you can start your money story, check out the episode Money Mindset Habits with Residuals. I
Mhm.
think that dropped, or it's
Wow.
dropping next week. I can't remember, but I have my coach on, Dr. Tracy Timberlake. So please check that out when you get a chance, because your
Mhm.
money story, I mean, it's major. It's big stuff. Like you wouldn't think how it impacts you, but it certainly does, and in multiple areas of your life. So definitely
Mhm.
go and figure out your money story there. Dr. Deann, you mentioned something about, checking ourselves, right? Calling ourselves out. And I would just like to just reiterate that. Like, I'm nowhere near perfect, but one of the things I do now, and I talk a lot about in my coaching sessions, is about taking action. Like, I
Mhm.
am an action taker. If I don't know something, I'm like, where is she? Who is she?
Mhm.
Who is he or she? Let me invest, because I absolutely have to do that. And it's something that I do more now, because I realize that the return of it is going to be much greater than, those heels at Nordstrom. It's
Mhm.
just more
Yeah.
valuable to me, especially with the life and legacy I'm creating, but also living today for my family. And so you're right. This is why you got to stay in connection, guys, whether you're in corporate or if you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, or you're doing both the side hustle and corporate, stay in connection with people who are like-minded. Like I keep hearing this quote saying that if you have the biggest idea in the room, you're in the wrong room. You need to
Mhm.
find another room, a room where people are dreaming big, like we're talking about on this episode, dreaming big and then shooting and reaching for those bigger goals, because you want to be able to be with people and surrounded by people who can tell you, you know what, here, learn from my mistake.
Mhm.
Here's some knowledge, someone who can also give you that energy, because that
Yeah.
energy is big. Like when you're not
Mhm.
connected to people who are also in entrepreneurship, it's a bit different. I got to be honest. I had to get connected into entrepreneurship networks because it's a thing like none other. Okay. It's
Mhm.
a new life. It's a life of
Yeah.
its own, and it really shows you who you are. And so being involved and being connected in that community is super important. So whether you're in corporate, whether you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, or you're doing both, get connected in the right community for sure. And Dr. Deann, you can reach out to her, you can reach out to me. Let us help you get into those communities for sure, but also to elevate you in whatever area or wherever in life you're trying to go, whether it's improve your career in corporate, and if you're in the healthcare industry, or it's to level up your LinkedIn profile. Dr. Deann is going to help you do that for sure. One of the things I do want to ask, Dr. Deann, because, and this is a key question, I always say, looking back from who you are now with how your life experiences have shaped and molded your perspectives and your being, what would you tell your 20-year-old self about life and living?
Ooh, that's a hard, loaded question. My 20-year-old self, I would a life and living, I would tell her to not live your life for other people. Like I
Mm.
was and probably still am a people pleaser. I
Mhm,
always have cared about and thought about what other people think, and that has stopped me from executing. You just talked about taking action. What are
mhm,
people going to think about this? And so I would go back and say, do the thing that's gonna make you
mhm,
happy.
mhm,
Um, go to the event if you have to go by yourself, take the class, learn the language. Again, I spent so much time in my early 20s and as
yeah,
a teenager not doing things because I was afraid of what people were gonna think about me.
mhm,
And when I think back now, like that's the only thing that bothers me because I may have been at a different place, but
mhm,
then I also say I had to go through all of that, like, to get to where I am now, but
yeah,
that would be it. Like, don't be a people pleaser. Do the things that are gonna make you happy
mhm,
regardless of what
mhm.
other people are gonna think about it.
Absolutely. Don't be a people pleaser, guys. Set you some healthy boundaries early.
Mhm.
Practice them, because that's the thing about boundaries too, because people are like, oh, these, boundaries. You have to practice them, because a lot of times we have to get in the habit of upholding our own boundaries,
Yeah.
The great thing is, since it's your boundary, you get to change it and adjust it where
Yep.
you need to do it and when you need to do it. But
Mhm.
you have to have those healthy boundaries set, and don't let other people steal your joy, steal your shine, tell you what you cannot do, because what God's put on your mind and in your heart, you don't have to worry about the how. You just have
Yeah.
to go and execute, take action, and he'll do the rest. So, definitely, a couple things today. I was on a call with Brenda Bouchard, who I'm certified high performance coach, and I'm certified through the High Performance Institute, who he is the owner of. And we were talking about the two major fears that people experience, like why they don't take action. And the first one was, one, people just don't, they fear change. They
Mhm.
literally fear change, right? It's
Yeah.
comfortable, right? In these circles that we've been in for so long. It's comfortable there. Everybody's doing the same thing.
Mhm.
We come in at 5 o'clock and, we eat and we talk and we get our wine at 6:30. Like everything's just routine. Like nothing's
Mhm.
challenging us to do better or something new. And so when you want to change that, people get scared, get
Yeah.
fearful, fretful of that, and they don't want that. And the second major fear is fear of just simple rejection. People
Mhm.
not liking it, the judgment we're going to get because we're doing something different. Let me tell you, when you step into your calling, nothing else matters. And this just goes to Dr. Deann's point. Don't listen to what other people say. I'm telling you, do your thing, do what God's put in your heart, and the rest is history. So, Dr. Deann, one last question.
Yeah.
What do you do to stay empowered?
I think you just talked about this. Well, so two things.
Okay.
One, your circle, who's around you.
Mhm, mhm,
Again, like entrepreneurship can be lonely. And so being mindful of who you surround yourself, but just in life,
mhm.
what is that? Is that saying birds of a feather flock
Yeah.
together? And so you
Mhm.
have to be very mindful of who's around you because you'll begin to take on their stuff and their characteristics. And so I try to surround myself with people who I'm aspiring to be like. So I have some, you definitely have a circle of like people who are where I'm at. I have
Mhm.
like my longtime friends, but I also have those people who are who I aspire to be.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And I think I done forgot what the second thing may have been because I started talking that. Oh, you got to find a way to motivate yourself. And so for me,
Mhm.
I do some of that. Like I go on a walk every morning. And there's this song, it's a gospel song, but it's called, this part of it is sometimes you just got to encourage yourself. And
Yes.
so whatever that is for you, for me, like it can be walking and listening to music or whatever, take some time out each day. It can, maybe it's affirmations and
Mhm.
encourage yourself
Mm.
because sometimes you're not going to find it externally out there. And so you got to be able to do some of this stuff internally. So surround yourself with people
Yeah.
who you aspire to be and who's on the same track as you because you'll get that external motivation.
Yeah.
And then take some time each day to encourage yourself in whatever way is going to work for you so you can get that internal motivation. And so that's how I stay empowered. That's how I keep showing up.
Awesome. Love that. And thank you for sharing that, Dr. Deann. Well, guys, like I said, you're going to be able to get to know more about Dr. Deann in the show notes. I'm going to have her link there to her IG, to her LinkedIn, but also to get to know more about her programs that she has open enrollment for right now. And also, if you're looking for the one-on-one coaching, certainly going to put my links in there. If you're looking to understand and help and increase your courage, be more courageous in life, whether that's in your finances, whether that's in your career, or you're just looking for some sort of balance in your life where you can say, you know what, I don't give my family the short end of the stick when I get home. I'm able to bring the joy at work, but also when I come home. And so if you're looking to defeat fear, if you're looking to become more courageous, definitely click the link in my show notes. I offer the first coaching session free of charge. It's complimentary, it's on me because the program works. I've worked it. I'm trained by the guy who created it. And he, has been, raised to the stars by Oprah Winfrey and by all types of magazines. So please, if you're looking for that, definitely click the link in the show notes. But also, I want to tell you that this episode is super important because it talks about LinkedIn. It talks about career. It talks about different, we talked about a Black community in here. And so if you are looking just to create that community, reach out to myself or Dr. Deann because we want to get you connected into the right community, somewhere where you can have support, somewhere where you can just have someone to speak with on whatever it is you may, have looking for additional knowledge on, right? Because we just said reach out to someone to get help, the expert. And so here we are, resources for you to leverage as you find your journey that you're looking to go on. So guys, I'm super excited. Dr. Deann, did you have any last words before we close?
Last thing I'll say to everyone is just get started. Like the
Yeah.
difference between you and everyone else is the other person just got started. So whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's executive coaching, whether it is this transformational coaching or finding your balance, just get started. Figure
Mhm.
out what it is and do the thing.
Do the thing. You heard Dr. Deann. And so guys, thank you so much for joining me. I had a great time and it's always my pleasure. So I'm going to let you go ahead and get into the habit of living. Thank you so much and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Habit of Living podcast. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend so we can grow our community. It would also mean the world if you left a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If you want to connect one-on-one, follow me on Instagram at I am Charlene Jefferson or on LinkedIn at the link in our show notes. See you in the next episode.